How strong will it be when it hits?
Simulators say Cat 3, possibly Cat 4. Major devastation across a dozen states.
Yes, but some of these projections have it turning back to sea.
That's highly unlikely, sir.
Sir, FEMA's mission is to prepare for the worst. The disaster relief fund has been depleted by a third since you launched AmWorks.
That still leaves $2 billion.
Oh, for this storm, we need 4 times that. We need $8 billion minimum for bare bones preparation. Hundreds could die, maybe thousands.
Gentlemen, the hurricane, I need the DRF replenished.
We're prepared to allocate $10 billion.
I was only going to ask for 8.
You sign the bill, you'll get the $10 billion. But no FEMA money or any other agency funds can be used for your jobs program again under any circumstances.
Don't politicize this. America Works and the hurricane are 2 separate issues.
Excuse me, Mr. President, but you're the one that raided the DRF for political purposes.
Get it to the house right away.
Green light on the release?
Yes.
I'm so sorry, Francis. I know how hard this is.
It's out of my hands. I can't control the weather.
Join me for dinner?
I'm going to turn in.
This early?
I'm going to be up 3 straight days once this hurricane hits. I need to get all the sleep I can. Have one of the stewards wake me when it hits the coast.
Francis.
Or does it make landfall?
It didn't. The hurricane turned.
It's due east now. It might hit Bermuda, but it'll dissipate quickly now that it's reaching colder water.
It looks like we dodged a bullet, Mr. President. I barely got the money in time for a halfway decent response.
How do we pull back on the bill?
Already been delivered to Congress and we put out a release.
There must be some parliamentary procedure that will nullify my signature.
Already checked with the White House counsel. The bill is officially law and the money's already been appropriated.
FEMA is assisting thousands of evacuees returning to their homes. With the exception of some moderate flooding in Georgia due to rain from the outer bands, the rest of the eastern seaboard was left virtually untouched by the hurricane everyone expected to be the storm of the century. The biggest casualty to faith was not life or property, however, but rather President Underwood's controversial America Works plan, which Congress defunded in order to free up resources for storm-related disaster relief.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Sovereign Sisters Podcast. I'm Angela Atkins, your host. And to start tonight's discussion, the topic on everyone's mind is Hurricane Helene. The video clip that you just watched, courtesy of Into Thin Air, is from House of Cards, Season 3, Episode 8, which aired February 27th of 2015. And that's where a shadow government uses a hurricane to threaten the president to give billions of dollars back to FEMA. Isn't it interesting that as soon as the president gave back that $10 billion, the hurricane magically turns completely out to the Atlantic Ocean in just hours before it's supposed to hit landfall? And as Into Thin Air points out, they tell you what's going on. They've shown us all along. Well, that was only fiction, just a political TV drama. Real life really seems to imitate art rather than the other way around. And along those lines, I'd like to show you real life captured in Greg Reese's 5-minute video report entitled How to Steer Hurricanes, Flood Homes, and Steal Lithium. I think this really relates to what we're talking about tonight.
We have had the technology to create, control, and steer hurricanes for decades.
Project Cirrus is the first official attempt to modify a hurricane. It was run by General Electric with the support of the U.S. military. The official theory was that by changing the temperature outside the eye wall of a hurricane, which they did by seeding the clouds with various compounds such as silver iodide, a decrease in strong winds will result. On October 13, 1947, Project Cirrus targeted a hurricane heading out to sea. Approximately 180 pounds of dry ice was dropped into the clouds. The crew then reported a pronounced modification of the cloud deck, and the hurricane abruptly changed direction and made landfall near Savannah, Georgia. The public blamed the government. Irving Langmuir, who pioneered General Electric's atmospheric research department and admitted that the project was about learning how to weaponize the weather, also claimed the reversal of the hurricane had been caused by Project Cirrus. But the government denied it for 12 years. After a short delay, the project officially continued, and in 1965, Project Storm Fury had targeted Hurricane Betsy for seeding. On that day, the storm immediately changed direction and made landfall in southern Florida. Congress blamed it on Project Storm Fury, but the government claimed that the hurricane shifted before they ever had a chance to seed it. And after 2 months of congressional hearings, the project was allowed to continue. In 1997, U.S. Defense Secretary William Cohen admitted we have the technology to control the weather, including earthquakes and volcanoes. The U.S. government has placed gag orders on employees of the National Weather Service. In October of 2012, after Hurricane Sandy weakened to a tropical storm, microwave imagery shows a thick red beam immediately followed by Sandy growing into a Category 1 hurricane and taking an unexplained left turn into New Jersey. The push towards alternative energy demands more lithium, and according to the U.S. Geological Survey, the United States has over 6 million tons of identified lithium resources. The majority of this lithium has been identified in Kings Mountain, North Carolina. Kings Mountain is believed to have one of the largest resources in the world, but the biggest problem is that people live there, and they don't want their quiet towns turned into lithium mines.
People in Cherville have been pushing against a proposed lithium mine for the last several years, but everyone we spoke with here said it's too divisive of an issue to share their opinion on camera. Cherryville is a small, quiet town.
I think that's good that we keep it small.
So quiet, many don't feel comfortable speaking out against Piedmont Lithium's proposed mining operation nearby.
I think we're a silent majority. I think a lot of people are afraid to say anything about it because they are bringing a lot to the town as far as money.
Last year, the Department of Defense entered a $90 million agreement with Albemarle Corporation to increase domestic production of lithium for the nation's battery supply chain, specifically from Kings Mountain, North Carolina, starting by 2025. This is the same area experiencing what is being described as biblical floods. While the federal government spends billions on foreign wars and illegal immigrants, they simply cannot be bothered with the health and well-being of the American people, especially those living on coveted mineral-rich land. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Well, as Greg points out, that it's definitely true that these people living in the mountains in Asheville are living near these lithium mines. And it's devastating to think that all this devastation has come from the want of the land. So we got to get rid of the people. That's really what it is. And most people who've been there, you know, they've been on the scene. There are plenty of rescue workers who've given firsthand testimony of what they've experienced. Now, this is going to be a night of short clips just to give you a kind of a sense of what's going around. But this video clip is from September 30th, where the rescuer clearly states, "We've never seen this before because it was man-made, or at the very least, man-influenced weather manipulation. Since when does a hurricane do more damage inland than it does when it makes landfall? Never." Well, you heard in Reese report, they've had this technology, they've admitted to this technology, and they use it against the people. And that's what's really heartbreaking and irritating and frustrating and aggravating and every word I can possibly think of that makes me worry that this is not the end. This is the beginning. They're going to do it more and more. But let's hear from that rescue worker. It's just a short clip.
So I just got out of the water. We're up at the local emergency operations center. They have a Starlink set up, and water rescues are continuous. So the mud is insane here. The amount of bridges that are out, the amount of landlocked, stranded people is unbelievable. There's still plenty of people completely unaccounted for. Keep these locals in your prayers, because I've been doing this since 2013. I got some guys with me that have done it 30 years, and they've never seen anything like this. It's wild. The pictures and videos are nothing compared to seeing it in person. I don't even know how it's possible that it happened. But the job goes on.
So as we see that this rescuer just knows this is not natural, this is not normal. And then people have questioned why this area. Well, in recent reports, we found out why this area. It's the lithium deposits that are under the ground near Asheville, North Carolina. And this is from the people who live in that area that didn't want the lithium mining to take place from Piedmont Lithium. And so these mountain people, they're not like you and I in the sense they are very locally they're in touch with nature, that this is their land. And no doubt the government wants the land, but these are people that have been living here for generations. Their families have been here forever. So they want to take the land away so they can build their lithium facilities and mine the lithium. And as you said, Kings Mountain is only about 70 miles from Asheville, with one of the largest lithium deposits. And it's so infuriating to me to know that these people are suffering for something that just doesn't belong to this company. They are literally stealing the property of these other people because they want to get rich. I mean, lithium mining and making it for our electronics is going to make them incredibly rich. But another place in Gaston County, North Carolina, is where Piedmont Lithium is located. They want these, obviously, for the lithium to put in our electronics. But since the residents have been battling with them, they have fought this battle for years. But it was only several months ago that Piedmont Lithium finally secured a state-approved mining permit, and the residents weren't happy about it. So let me show you the short clip about another area called Spruce.
I've been devastated the last couple days to see what has happened to western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee in the wake of Hurricane Helene. I have friends over there. I have some family in Appalachia, and it is bad. If you know of a way to help, please do so. If you have legitimate places to donate and support, you can feel free to put them in the comments. I will come for things that look scammy. That is not what this place is for. All of that being said, there's also a tech connection to this story. You may not know it, but the one place in the world that produces silicon sand or silica sand pure enough for the crucibles that melt silicon ingots so that they become pure enough, like 11-9s pure enough, to make silicon wafers, which make the chips that go into your phone, that go into your computer, that go into everything that has semiconductors. All of that sand, that comes from Spruce Pine, North Carolina. The sand for the crucible that makes the ingots pure enough to make chips comes from Spruce Pine, North Carolina, which is underwater. And that's a big problem. I don't know what we're going to do about it, but from a tech industry perspective, this affects you too. This is something you should be concerned about. Spruce Pine is underwater right now. I don't know what the state of the mine is. I don't think anybody outside Spruce Pine's directors know what the state of the mine is. So there's a mine there, there's a plant there. The plant is near the river, the mine is in the mountains, the town is underwater, and the human cost is horrific. And the entire tech industry is worried. I'm worried. I don't know what's going to happen. If we don't have that sand, then we run out of the ability to make computer chips. That's how bad it is. So keep an eye on that story. Keep an eye on Spruce Pine. Help any way you can. The human cost is tremendous.
I just realized I had muted my microphone. So let me go back and tell you what I was trying to say. It was because the mining in the area, I believe that this hurricane came in. Piedmont didn't get their way, so I believe that the government, whether or not you believe in coincidences, I do not. I believe this was an attack. And no doubt it was approved and perpetrated by or with the help of our own government. Our current resident signed an executive order, if you recall, that 50% of all the vehicles in the U.S. are to be electric by 2030. This isn't a coincidence. This is by design. And now Gaston County has no water, they're out of food, the community is without power. So is this a Maui 2.0? I don't know. But I have another short clip I want to play about those lithium mines and the people in the area.
Can I tell you what I find suspicious as shit? That one of the areas affected by Hurricane Helene is the world's largest lithium deposit, and the DoD just entered into an agreement with this company right here to mine lithium for electric cars starting in 2025. Now that area is completely devastated. This is a $90 million agreement between the DoD and this company right here to get Kings Mountain, North Carolina lithium mine up and running by 2030. If that area has been inundated, is in a disaster zone, then the government can come in and do eminent domain, and they can pay you what it was worth 5 years ago rather than what it's worth right now. Imagine that your home has turned into a watery lot and the government comes to you and says, hey, I'll pay you what you paid for it. You're gonna take it and you're gonna go, right? What do you think's gonna happen right here now that they want this lithium mine up and running by 2025, 2030 at the latest? Back in 1947, we had the Florida-Georgia hurricane, or Hurricane 9, and it was the first hurricane to be targeted for weather modification. What happened was General Electric's, the US Navy, the Army, the Air Force, they poured dry ice into this hurricane using airplanes to see what would happen. Would they slow it down? Well, what happened was it slowed down a little bit, but it turned west really sharp. Let me show you. This is the path that the hurricane took in 1947. Does it look similar to you? Probably not. It's a coincidence, right? Moving on. I'm sure this is just another coincidence, but do you know who owns the most shares in that lithium mine? BlackRock and Vanguard.
No surprise, BlackRock seems to own everything. But to make things worse, not only are the people not being helped by our government, FEMA comes in and destroys things that the people are actively working together to make things better. They're actively causing problems. They're chasing people away from assisting survivors. They're stealing caches of donation. This is piracy in the mountains. I'm certain you've heard the stories of FEMA doing all sorts of crazy stuff, sending helicopter pilots away, saying you can't rescue people, you can't do this. They're stealing the donations and locking them up and not letting people distribute the donations that were either collected by churches, local organizations. People helping people is not what FEMA wants. FEMA wants to get in there and take it away. Literally, this is piracy. So what can you do about it? So let's make our voices heard. I've got a graphic here that I want to show you that lists all the I'm sorry if the sound wasn't adequate when the slide was up. But if you take a screenshot of that slide that I had up, call the governor's office. As I said, you'll get more likely get a staffer. But ask them, when are you, the governor of our state, going to supply food or other necessities? And more likely they'll tell you, oh, FEMA's doing that. Well, FEMA's not. Tell them what you know, that people are trying to deliver food, supplies, baby foods, and other stuff. And government agents like FEMA are threatening to arrest these people. They need to have FEMA people arrested for trying to intimidate those who are trying to save lives. Make sure you tell them things like trucks who are trying to deliver these supplies, their tires are getting slashed. And then, who cares what FEMA thinks about it? But you have to talk to your local government because they're the ones who are really supposed to take charge of them. Let them know, hey, we're the people that voted you into office. So you need to help the people that are in your area. Just saying, the people who voted for you, some of them are dying. Hopefully that'll shut them up and make them listen to you. Then you can also call people in Congress, leave them the same message. We're the people, people deserve answers, and we need to stop trusting the government. We the people are out there trying to help one another. And I think it's important that we do it en masse. Don't say somebody else will do it. Do it for yourself. Do what you can, even if it's just a phone call. If you don't have money to donate to a charity, or if you don't have time to go to a site to assist, then make a phone call. Let your voice be heard and say, you're in charge of this state, or you're in charge of this area, if it's your representative or a local government official. Say it's your responsibility to take care of the people you are supposed to serve. That's the whole thing. They are supposed to serve. They're not serving anybody but themselves. So again, we need to stop trusting government. Make them do their jobs. So I have another video for you, and I apologize if my sound goes out again. I've had trouble today with something electrical, but I'm going to try this other video and see if you can. I won't speak over it. I'll wait till it's over. 1 second. When I first saw that video, it actually brought me to tears. Knowing that there are people willing and actively helping their fellow man. The Mule Brigade, that is really what it is, the Mule Brigade. And you'll see later, I will put a screenshot up of places to donate to. In addition, I was going to talk over it, but obviously I'm having some computer problems this evening. So I'll put it up, ask you to screenshot it, and then I'll talk through what the offers are for those who can't read it. Right now, I think there are many reports coming in that we don't know what's true and what's not true. I verified the ones I've shown you, and I also have a friend who has a contact in North Carolina near the affected area, and they have firsthand information that they've confirmed the following reports: that currently that they're seeing Black Hawks are running and they're pulling dead bodies off the mountain, but they're not giving them back to the families. They're taking them to Johnson City. Don't have further word on what that means. I have no idea what is happening in Johnson City, but I'll check on that and I'll get back to you if I find out more. They said the smell is of everything rotting. So it is true, if you've heard it before, in those areas where it's worst hit, it is a problem. There was an earlier statement that a FEMA employee had gotten beat up and was in the hospital. This was confirmed that another FEMA employee, and I'm going to quote, got his ass kicked for running his mouth, and he's now in the ICU. So this is from, firsthand reports of those people on the ground. The people there, and this is directly from the people in that area in North Carolina, are telling FEMA to leave. FEMA is not helping them. They say they can leave the area, but FEMA then tells the people there, you can leave the area, but it will be 2 years before they can come back to their homes. 2 years. Their homes won't be there. They will be taken over. It's just horrible. And then the most recent thing I have is that a barbecue tent and a supply depot was set up, and this FEMA Black Hawk came in and injured some and just made a mess of the surroundings. Let me see if I can find that, and I'll play it, and I won't try to talk over it. And maybe it's not even here. Sorry. Obviously, I'm having computer problems, but literally the Black Hawk comes in, hits the top of a canopy that's set up over like foodstuffs where they're doing the barbecue, and takes it down, and the rotor, the blades washing around, blows the food out. And there were some people injured by that, because the wash is pretty devastating. If you've ever seen, rotor wash, it's pretty devastating when you see how bad this is, that they don't know who did it. And there is a latest video that right before I came live came up online that said that they were tracking what the call numbers were on that helicopter. So things are happening. We're not getting told the full story. And that's part of the problem, because the media lies to us consistently. They tell us what whoever is in charge wants us to know. They're not telling us the full extent of what is happening. But that is just not helping, because if people don't know how serious it is, they don't take it as seriously as it needs to be. And what I need to understand is, how can this happen in our country? How can we let this kind of devastation by design? It's not natural. A natural hurricane, if there is such a thing, doesn't get stronger as it goes inland. The land actually slows it down. And so instead of having natural responses, where people can figure out how to manage in this situation, they don't know what's going to happen. And for most people who are in the path of that hurricane, they have nothing left. Nothing. And for the most part, these are people who have generational poverty. And so it's not like they're going to just easily come back. They may have only had a trailer or a small plot of land. If it washed away the land, they don't even have that. So what has happened? What has happened? I believe what is going on is that this is a land grab like Maui. And we see nothing has happened in Maui. It's been a year plus later. No homes are built. They still have about 2,000 families or 2,000 people at least, displaced without homes. There's no money coming in. Whatever funding was given to Hawaii is not being used to rebuild homes. So what is going on? This is government fraud. This is not the way our country was set up. And so I'm saying we the people need to take control. We the people need to stand up for our sovereignty. I'm not calling for violence, but in these situations, the federal government needs to get out of the way. State laws actually trump federal in these types of situations. So I'm asking, where are the militias? I mean, every state has some sort of militia. So I'm asking the militias to step out, show who you are. Let us help support in your area. Maybe there are people who want to join the militia so they can go and support people for taking back their rightful property. It's time for us as Americans to band together and overthrow a corrupt system. Again, not calling for violence. I'm calling for a show of strength. So many people have wanted to help in many ways, and there are plenty of people out there on the ground. I must say the mountain people are just like a close-knit family. They help each other, and people from all around from different states have come and helped. There are places like the Lincoln County Airport in North Carolina that are helping getting relief to victims with local pilots at these airports, that they're organizing supply flights, because up until now the roads have been inaccessible because of the storm damage. And these are critical missions that are going on because people don't have food, they don't have water, there are no medical items, there's not even any hygiene products, and they're living with this rotting, festering stuff with water that's been mixed with sewage and, unfortunately, dead bodies. It is horrendous. And I know the local citizens have been contributing and donating. And I think it's really important that we, everyone, as a unified country, even if you don't live there or even know a single person there, we are all God's children. We all need to help each other. So we need to get in on these efforts. We need to definitely give donations. So I'm going to put up a donation slide. I have a feeling my sound's not going to work again. So I'm going to ask you, take a screenshot of the slide. And then when I come back, I'll read the slide for those who are listening audio only. I know it was a lot to read, but I think it's important that you know what these efforts are. You know what? Rather than me sitting reading it, I'm going to put all the links into the chat, and you'll be able into the description underneath this video. So wherever you view the video, Rumble, BitChute, Brighteon, it doesn't matter where you go, I will put all of those links in there. The one thing I do want to say is one of the donations ends tonight. Mike Adams, the health ranger, is offering a disaster relief buy one food bucket, and he'll donate an additional one to the disaster victims. But that ends tonight, so I will get these links out right away. I would ask that, check Rumble first, because that's where it goes up. I'll make sure it's on the Rumble and YouTube. But really, it's the most important thing we can do right now, besides praying and keeping God in our lives and wishing these people the best that we can offer them, is to offer some sort of donation, time, money, spiritual comfort, whatever you can. And in that respect, because I don't have physical products, I'm willing to offer my programs from Your Health Unbound, and I'll put them also in the description. And I'm going to offer 100% of the proceeds that I receive from any purchases of those programs donated to one of those legitimate charities on that list for the Hurricane Helene survivors. If you want your proceeds from a purchase donated, all you have to do is check the yes button on the order form. You get access to my programs and you support a worthy cause. And just to be truly transparent and show my total accountability, I'll provide a spreadsheet in a future podcast for whatever has been purchased. I have to let you know there are 3 different price points depending on what you want to donate. And for full disclosure, the amount donated will be the proceeds of the sale after the credit card processor has extracted the 3% fee. So you can do any of that as you feel called. If it's not my programs, please donate directly to one of the other charities that are helping out. And I will put all those links in the description under every box that I can. But the only one that I wanted to highlight is the Mike Adams ones, because it ends tonight. So before we move on to something else, this whole thing has made me just, I want to say frustrated, but that's not even the right word. I feel like people don't really know what this country stands for. We allow people in government, whatever that is, because government is supposed to be those people that we elect, and we know that's not always true, to serve as our representatives. They're not power brokers. They don't get to run without our consent, and they've been running wild. It's not just been the last 4 years, it's probably been our entire lifetime, and we haven't been awake and aware to it. But now that we are, we need to ultimately to do what our Declaration of Independence instructs us to. And I'm going to read it to you so you know exactly what I mean. It says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among those are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness." That's where we are, folks. We are at the point that our government is not doing what we, the people, want. It has become destructive, and it's our right as the people to abolish it and institute a new government. And that's why I say it's time for whomever, the militias, to step up and say, we're taking our country back. That's where I really believe we need to go. And I hope you have, you share your thoughts with me on this situation. But Helene just touched me in such a way. I wanted to give all those clips, and I apologize for the computer screw-ups. Apparently, the technology was not on my side today. But I have some notes that I wanted to refer to about some other topics that maybe you want to talk about. You can always put your thoughts in the comments, or in the comments below the recording, or online now while it's live. But one of the other things I wanted to mention was, now we have Hurricane Milton coming up. How natural do you think that one is? Milton, and some people have already spoken up that Milton, let me go back. Milton said, that some of the roads and bridges are closed while people are trying to exit the danger area. And there's one that says, supposedly FEMA took over and closed some of the exit bridges and roadway. There's FEMA again. We need to get these, whatever they are, this pseudo government agency, because they really do not do anything to help the people. They need to be gone. The people need help from people who know what to do. Where's the local government? Get the federal people out completely. So the other thing is that Milton is now known to be one of the strongest hurricanes ever recorded. I think it went from 1 to 5 in like 28 hours. How is that natural? We have to face it. These are not natural occurrences. These are man-made, manufactured, weather manipulation, geoengineering, whatever you want to call it. It is not normal. So why are they doing this? Is it because Florida is largely a conservative area? Could be. I don't know that one. I mean, maybe we'll discover that there's something else there, that they want land in Florida. I have no idea. But from now, it looks like the way the hurricane's coming in may cross from Tampa to Miami. That's a huge swath. You could really just decimate Florida. And it's a tourist mecca. What are they doing? It feels like this is a punishment, that they are just beating down the people. And again, this is an election year, so make the people who would probably not vote the way these people who do these things want to vote, make them suffer, punish them, make them unable to vote because either they can't do mail-in voting because they no longer have a home, or they're not going to have anything to be accessible to get to a polling place. Whatever the case may be, this is not natural. People have to get their head out of the sand and realize this geoengineering has been going on for decades. I mean, the Reese report told you how long ago, and that they admitted to it. They admitted to controlling the weather. So why would you think now it's not happening? It has to be. It's just not normal. Excuse me. So some of the other things that I had on my list of discussion topics to be uncensored tonight are the dock workers. How quickly did that come and go? I guess that wasn't exactly what they wanted, or I'm not really sure. So the dock worker strike was coming up, and they wanted this huge 50 or 60 some % increase in their salary, because during COVID, all the big corporations got all their, billions of dollars from what was going on with all the financial stuff. And they didn't, but they were doing all the hard work at the dock, unloading and loading ships. And then there was some other story that said, they couldn't stand it any longer with hearing the children crying in containers. For God's sake, if they waited this long to make a fuss about that, and I'm not saying, I know it's a conspiracy theory to some people, but there has been some significant evidence proving that has happened, that human trafficking goes on aboard these container ships. If you're just now, as a dock worker, stepping up and saying something, what? Why would you wait all these years? This is such a convenient excuse. And then all of a sudden, poof, it goes away until January? What does that mean? There's something behind all of this stuff. I mean, I'd love to have your comments, what you think on any of this stuff. But frankly, all this seems manipulative, seems manufactured in some way, either to bring fear to the masses, thinking, oh, supply chain's going down, we're not going to get, our stores are going to be empty, or possibly something else. Could it be just some sort of political maneuver? I don't trust anybody anymore at all. It is, to me, our government is not worthy of our trust. I just have no faith in anyone from the top down. There's just, none of them have proven themselves. People will say, well, what about this one? And what about this one? And, they all have some sort of black check mark next to them that they've done something or they've not done something, which is even bigger. So here's one other thing. This is an interesting topic too. The ports are given back to the sovereign and taken away from NATO. Did you know that our ports were not owned by the United States, but they were owned by NATO? Now, I can't remember the name of how this happened, but apparently years ago, many, many years ago, it came to be that the ports were no longer under the control of the Marines and the Navy, who were supposed to be the keepers of our ports around all of our port cities. And they were turned over to NATO. And now we're returning that. The process is going through. I don't know when it will be done, but that is an interesting topic to pursue, and I'll keep looking at it to see if I find out more about it. So let me just kind of take a perusing here. One of the things I have a big issue with in all these things, whether it's the devastation from Helene or the support workers, the rescuers who are coming in, is when I see these videos of cops, and I don't even like calling them cops because my father was a police officer. He served the people. These cops, and I kind of use it derogatorily, they come in and they act like bullies. They're tyrants. They're telling people who want to get their stuff out of their own building before the looters come and get it, because it's been devastated through the hurricane, and they're trying to recover as much as they can. And he says, if I have to come back here, I'm going to have to escalate it. Unfortunately, in the link that I saw, the woman responds, I guess you'll have to escalate it, because there's no reason for this. Why? Why in the world would someone not have compassion at this point? If you were just a minion of some force that tells you if this happens, then you need to go and make sure that these people don't get to do X, Y, and Z. No, I would say to whoever your boss is, if you want to keep your job, just say, okay, and then just don't do it. Because it's not the humane thing to do. It's not the right thing to do. You need to have people in positions of power like that who have compassion, who have heart, who understand what the people are going through. And unfortunately, I don't see that in any of you. I don't see it in the government workers from FEMA. Again, I think they're pirates. I think they're stealing. They're total thieves. And then I don't like seeing cops who come in saying, you gotta get out of here. Who are you? Bug off, tell these people to go pound sand. And if you want to arrest me, just go ahead and try, because in this kind of country, where these people in the mountains in this country area, they're going to come to the aid of their fellow man, and that cop's not going to get away with it. You may do it temporarily, but these people don't put up with it. And that's what the United States needs to turn back into. We need to turn back into people who care about their fellow man. We need to not say, oh, there's nothing I can do about it. I have heard that for 4 years now. No matter what it was, something would come up. Well, there's nothing I can do about it. Or I don't want to lose my job. You can get another job, for God's sakes. You can't get another life. So if something is going on and you disagree with it, start using your sovereignty, saying, that's not for me. I say no. I go back to what I've said from the beginning. When somebody says it's a mandate, or I have an ordinance, or it's something else, it's not a law. A law has been legislated and approved by the body that we say can make laws. If it's just somebody, even the governor just saying, I have a mandate to do this. Sorry, dude, it's not a law. A mandate requires my consent. You mandate, I don't consent, doesn't happen. That's what we need to do. We need people who have spines. We need people who have just enough heart that they're willing to step out a little bit. And even if you're afraid, the first time you say no, it's going to feel really good. I've said no for the last 4 years, and I keep saying it more loudly as it goes on, because as people say, well, you have to do this. No, I don't. I'm sovereign. I am totally sovereign. I have bodily autonomy. You can't make me take something that I don't want. You can't make me do something that I don't want. I respond to God, and I respect truly only laws that are written that do not conflict with the Constitution. Our Constitution was written to give us the God-given rights we had and secure us for life, liberty, and happiness. How many people are happy these days? So many things happen. Nobody I know is truly happy. You may have the occasional person who's just happy all the time, but so much has happened. People have lost so much. Not only do they lose the physical things like in the hurricane, but they've lost lives. They've lost loved ones. They've lost pets. They've lost financial resources. They have no way of coming back. But if you've got God, you've got everything. So if you come back to God, which I believe many of these people who live in the mountains, they're far more spiritual. They're far more spiritual than people who live in the cities. And they are in touch with nature, which gives them that close connection. And I think until we do that, until we get back to God, get back to being in touch with nature, become a brotherhood again. And I'm not going to go through this brotherhood, sisterhood thing. I am done with political correctness. It is nonsense. You understand the words that I mean. When I say brotherhood, I am not eliminating anybody who is not male. I'm using it as a term to create this unity together. We need to stop worrying about all the little itsy bitsy things that are outliers. 1% of the population wants something and all of a sudden everybody in the world's got to change their lives. No, sorry, not happening. Not for me, at least. If you want to go out and give the 1%ers what they want, that's on you. But then when you don't get what you want because you've given them everything that could have been yours, then don't complain. I choose to live my life the way God has led me. And the 1%ers, and you probably know who I'm talking about, are not in there. Those 1%ers truly are Satanists. They do not have God in their lives. They do not have any depth of spirituality that you and I can even understand. I can't even understand the depths of evil that go into manipulating the weather to the point that you destroy entire towns. Chimney Rock, North Carolina is gone. For most of Asheville is gone. People's homes and everything they've owned, gone. How can you be that evil to actually manipulate something such as a hurricane, which again we know is true that they can manipulate them, just because you want to make money or you have a company that wants to make money? And they've probably paid off how many government officials saying, I'll pad your pockets if you make this mining go through. And so we can get all the lithium we want and make billions of dollars, because that's what it's all about. It just isn't. It isn't about the money. It's about living the life that you were supposed to live in a divine way. And that's loving one another. And if you can't see that, if you are so blind to just how evil the world has become, then you're going to have a rude awakening, because things are going to happen. And truly, when the shit hits the fan, you're going to be overwhelmed. So I ask you, get your head wrapped around it. Get your head wrapped around that somebody, many people maybe many people in our government will do evil things that cause death and devastation to people in our own country for profit. To me, that's just evil. There's no other way around it. And I don't mean to take this on a downer note, but what I want to do is to end on a positive note. Those charitable organizations that are offering their time, their services, need our help. They need funds to keep going. The helicopter pilots need fuel to make those runs. The people in the distribution center need, money just to get the trucks to run them that in the areas that they still have roads. Even the mule packers need it. You've got to feed the mules. You've got to have, people who are doing these things out of the generosity of their heart. Most of these people are not getting a red penny doing this. They are doing it for the love of their fellow man. And that's why we who are not affected, and I'm grateful to God that our area is not affected, at least not now, that I am happy to contribute. And that's why I'm happy to contribute 100% of anybody who wants to buy any program. I want people to have the health knowledge more than I care about any of the money. I just don't care about the money. But I will give every penny of it to one of those organizations. Or if there's enough, I'll just spread it across multiple organizations. So I know I went on quite a rant there for a minute, but I'm truly disturbed about where we are right now. This is a power grab. This is pre-election nonsense. The one side knows they can't cheat enough, so they're going to do as much as they can to the other side. And these people are suffering for just people who want power and control and money. It's sickening to me. Where's our society where we don't live in a democracy, so get that out of your head, where we're a constitutional republic and we follow things that the Constitution has laid out. We have a Declaration of Independence. Please go read it. We have a Bill of Rights. Please go read it. And we have a U.S. Constitution. Please go read it. Familiarize yourself with those things, and you'll understand why it is so important for right now we stand up and we take back our sovereignty, and we do it together. A whole country, not pockets, not the people in the hills, not the people in Florida, but as a whole country, we get back to being American citizens united. That's why we're called United States. Come together. So again, thanks for joining me. I hope you seriously consider if you were able to donate something. And if you aren't able to donate, I ask, please offer your prayers for those, who are suffering, or those who have lost their lives, and especially for those who are still helping one another, that together we make this world better, and we start by uniting. So I hope you understand that it's really important to me that we get one more chance to get this right. And that chance is only going to happen when we come together. We come together as a nation, as people who are children of God, and we do it the right way, with liberty and justice for all. Good night, everybody.